At 20, he was just a prince. At 30, he ruled the known world. And by 32, he was dead. Before he was great, Alexander was the son of King Philip II, a man who treated conquest like a weekend hobby. His mother, Olympias, raised the stakes, claiming her boy descended from Achilles. Imagine your mom saying, "Sweetheart, you're half God. Don't blow it." His tutor? Aristotle. While other kids solved fractions, Alexander studied politics, philosophy, and war. But what set him apart wasn't brains alone, but obsession. He carried Homer's Iliad everywhere, annotated by Aristotle. Other boys chased wine. Alexander chased immortality. At 12, Alexander faced a horse no one could tame. The stallion reared, bucked, and terrified Philip's court. The king was ready to send it away. But Alexander noticed what others missed. The horse feared its own shadow. He turned it toward the sun, mounted, and rode with ease. The court gasped. His father muttered, "Macedonia is too small for you. Seek a kingdom equal to yourself." The horse was Bucephalus. From that day, he carried Alexander through deserts, rivers, and battlefields. It wasn't just a ride. It was the moment a boy revealed he was destined for more. At a wedding feast, Philip II was assassinated by his own bodyguard. Suddenly, Alexander, just 20, was king. There was no trial run, no time to prepare, only a throne and enemies on every side. The Greek city-states saw weakness. Athens whispered rebellion. Thebes planned open defiance. Everyone assumed the boy would fail. But Alexander had something they didn't: speed. He struck before revolt spread, moving so quickly that cities surrendered before he arrived. Still, one city would test him, and Alexander would prove that mercy wasn't part of his new playbook. Thebes gambled on rebellion. Alexander answered with fire. His army stormed the city, killed thousands, enslaved survivors, and left only a few sacred sites standing. Brutal? Yes. Effective? Absolutely. Thebes was erased, and with it, any illusion that Alexander was weak. The message was clear: resist, and you'd vanish. Greece submitted, united by fear and awe. Alexander was no longer Philip's boy. He was a king forged in blood. But his ambition didn't stop at Greece. His father had dreamed of Persia. Alexander decided, dreams are for the dead. I'll finish what he started. Persia was the superpower of the age. Vast armies, endless wealth, palaces glittering like cities of gold. For most, it was untouchable. For Alexander, it was irresistible. He rallied his men with talk of glory and destiny. To him, Persia wasn't just an enemy. It was the proving ground where he'd surpass heroes like Achilles. By uniting Greece behind him, he freed his hands for conquest. His sights were set east, across the Hellespont. The Persians thought Macedon was too small, too insignificant. They were about to learn that Alexander's ambition was larger than their empire. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed into Asia with 40,000 men. Before stepping on shore, he hurled a spear into the ground, declaring the continent his. Subtle? Not his style. At Troy, he laid a wreath on Achilles' tomb and whispered that he'd outdo him. Imagine flexing on your childhood hero at their grave. To his men, he promised spoils and glory. To himself, he promised immortality. Persia had numbers, wealth, and reputation. Alexander had speed, genius, and fire. The invasion wasn't just about land. It was about proving that nothing, not even the greatest empire, was beyond him. At Issus, Alexander finally met Darius III. Vastly outnumbered, he led a direct cavalry charge at the Persian king. Darius fled, abandoning his army, and even his family. Awkward family dinner later. Victory made Alexander a legend, but he wasn't finished. 2 years later came Gaugamela. Outnumbered again, he used brilliant tactics to outmaneuver the Persians. Once more, Darius fled, this time leaving his empire behind. By 25, Alexander had conquered the world's greatest superpower. Cities didn't resist anymore. They surrendered at the rumor he was coming. He wasn't just winning wars, he was rewriting history. With Persia collapsed, Alexander declared himself King of Kings. He wore Persian robes, blended customs, and demanded bows. To his Greek generals, it felt like betrayal. But his empire kept expanding. He founded cities, many named Alexandria, and spread Greek culture east. Yet cracks showed. His temper grew dangerous. In a drunken rage, he killed Cletus, the man who once saved his life. He wept afterward, but his men saw the truth. Their beloved general was changing. The boy who once dreamed of Achilles now seemed convinced he was Achilles, or something greater. Alexander leaned into the idea of divinity. Some hailed him as son of Zeus. He didn't deny it. Statues rose. Poets praised him as godlike. But divinity wears thin on long marches. His men trudged through deserts, building cities in his name, while muttering about his pride. He envisioned an empire uniting Greeks and Persians, marriages, customs, and cultures blended into one. To some, it was visionary. To others, it was betrayal. Alexander's dream was bigger than conquest. He wanted to reshape civilization itself. But no dream could outrun the limits of mortal flesh. In India, Alexander met new challenges: monsoons, jungles, and war elephants that charged like living tanks. At Hydaspes, he triumphed, but it was costly. His men were exhausted. When he ordered them farther east, they refused. At the Ephesus River, they mutinied. For the first time, Alexander turned back. Then came another loss. Bucephalus, his faithful horse, died. Whether from wounds or age, it marked the end of an era. Alexander marched home, still dreaming of future conquests. But for his soldiers, the journey had already ended, and soon it would end for him, too. Back in Babylon, Alexander was only 32, but planning more conquests. Arabia, maybe Rome. His ambition never stopped, but his body did. A fever struck. Typhoid, malaria, poison. No one knows. For days he lingered, speechless. His soldiers filed past, desperate for a word. When asked who should rule after him, he whispered, "To the strongest." It was both prophecy and curse. On June 10th, 323 BCE, Alexander was gone. His generals tore the empire apart. But his legend endured. In just 12 years, he conquered from Greece to India. And in memory, he never died.